Hello, and welcome to a dual podcast between the Travel Business Mentor podcast and the Network Marketing Mentor podcast. And you may hear in the background the outdoors. It's a little bit windy today, so apologies if you get any noise from that. But we're out walking and talking. And this allows me to get my exercise in, but also record more content for you. For those of you new to the podcast, just to quickly explain what that is. So the Travel Business Mentor podcast focuses on helping people who are either running or thinking of running a travel business. So nice and straightforward there. And the Network Marketing Mentor podcast is for those in the network marketing space or investigating what might be possible with network marketing. There's also a broader appeal as well for business in general. So do stay tuned. Specifically today, if you own a business or consider yourself self-employed, or you're thinking of starting a business or going self-employed, because there's some real top value here for you today, and some further reading recommendations. But without any further ado, I'm going to cut back in time to yesterday, where I started to record this podcast, and then we will cut back to today to finish off the podcast, because I ran out of memory on my phone when I was recording, I'll be honest with you. And so I just had to increase my plan today for storage in order to do that for you. So let's jump back to yesterday, see what I've got to say, and then I'll join you back in today in just shortly. I have just been having the best walk out through the fields tonight. Only a few minutes walk away from where I am now. This lovely chalk downland fields in Sussex. There's a bright golden shine on the meadow. There's the sun's still just about up, and it's putting a lovely golden shine on the meadow. And just wanted to describe where I am and what I'm looking at, just for those that might be just listening to the audible version of this. But it's really beautiful. So the fields are golden and green, the sea is a dark blue, the sky is a light blue. I'm looking at just the most beautiful countryside, and very blessed to be able to have a flexible schedule so that I can make sure that I take time for myself to come out, get a bit of exercise, see this beautiful countryside. And then I'll probably go back and, do a few messages and prep myself ready, know what's in my diary for tomorrow. But my whole day through is not a crazy day. It's a really nice paced day. I decide what I do when I do it, and I really like that. And I hope for those of you listening saying, oh, great for you, Dan, what about me? Well, I hope for you, you're going to experience that too in the not too distant future. And perhaps if you continue listening to this, you're going to find out how that might be possible for you, and just some just general top tips and things to think about in business, even if you don't get in business with me. Okay, or you're not in business with me. I think there's some stuff here for those that are in the type of industries I'm in, and some just generally good tips or things that I'm going to highlight that would be useful to think about. And first, let's start off with just some reading you could do, or audibles you could listen to, just so if I lose you along the way, you've got the value right from the outset here. So for those of you that might be in general business, maybe you're self-employed, I would advise that you read or listen to the E-Myth. But let's talk about the book, the E-Myth. The E-Myth is, the E stands for entrepreneur, and I don't want to kind of spoil it too much and tell you about the myth, but I'll kind of allude to some of the myth in there and really why it's worth reading. I think if you have started a business, what you might consider self-employed, just a sole individual, or you have more individuals, or you have some sort of enterprise, it's definitely worth having a read. I think if you are thinking of starting a business, it's definitely worth having a read. But one of the big takeaways I always had from the E-Myth is that many times when you start a business or go self-employed, you're essentially buying yourself a job or giving yourself a job. And often, if you're not there, your job is either not done entirely, or not done, perhaps not done as well, or perhaps just not done as you like it to be done. And that may impact the money coming in, or just even your stress levels. So I think it's definitely worth a read to discover with that how the E-Myth suggests you could tackle that. But I'm going to tell you a little bit of what I drew from that and my experience in business and entrepreneurship, being self-employed, employing people, and building alternative organisations. What my big takeaway from that book might be, and it's that if you're successful at what you do and you're finding others aren't as successful, it's probably because of a very simple principle, that they haven't lived your life. Let's think about it. They haven't been with you since birth, had your parents, grown up in the same class as you, gone to, maybe you went to college, maybe you went to university. They haven't had your friend set. They haven't had the successes and the failures that you have had. They haven't spent the time doing precisely what you've been doing. They haven't got your brain. They haven't got your hands. Okay? So why would you expect that if you were to step out of your business, that people in your business would exactly replicate what you can do when you're in your business? So essentially you are, in a way, indispensable. Whether it's just that if you stop doing your work, the work would stop. That's the worst kind, because being indispensable is probably the riskiest thing when you're self-employed. Great if you're in a job, not so great if you're employed, if you're employing yourself. So that's one thing to think about there. The other element to this is that maybe the work does get done, but it doesn't get done well, or well, at least as far as your standard goes. So there's a poorer standard there, and so that may have a knock-on reputation, or have a knock-on productivity, but more importantly, probably, for pure survival, you may not earn as much because, the person that's been covering you is less productive. Or maybe it costs more if you're having to get someone in to cover you, while you're off. So that's another element to think about it as well. And maybe it's just that what you do doesn't duplicate. You can't replicate it, or you can only replicate it with a very small group of people, because they have to have certain aspects to them. Now, if you're a business owner employing someone, it may just be the skills, attitudes, experience. If you're in a less conventional business, like one of the businesses I own, then you've got a team made up of other individuals who are self-employed. You know, they have their own independent business, but they're affiliated to you. That can be really hard, because if you want them to be successful, but they may not have the attributes to duplicate what you can do, that's really difficult. Especially if there are people romping away. There's these unicorns, these very special people that are able to do things either through charisma or just their skill set. And the person coming into your business can't understand why they can't duplicate what that person is doing. And it's for that very reason. They are not them. They don't have their brain or their hands. Okay, so I think that's a really important thing to grasp as we move on now onto something specific that I'm really going to talk about with duplication. Now, this will go for all business, but I'm going to delve into this where I'm managing. Well, I'm not managing at all. I'm leading a group of individuals, which are all independent. If they choose to work, they can work. If they don't choose to work, they don't work. And I think what's really, I've got some lovely dogs coming up here. They're playing together really well. Hello. No, that's fine. Oh, they're cute. So the duplication with these individuals can be difficult because they did not sign up to this opportunity for a boss, for a manager. They're quite often happy to accept you as a leader, but not a manager. And to be honest with you as well, even if you were, you still won't necessarily be able to give them the skills, the charisma, the things they need to perform as one of the top, say, 1% performers. And this is where I really encountered a profound realization about this back in September last year. I had probably my best month in the business as far as one of my business that essentially is an affiliate business. It introduces people to becoming independent travel agents or travel advisors working remotely, so they can work from their home or where they happen to be. And so fantastic opportunity there, a fantastic product that, products they're booking for people, and they do very well financially if they work well. So that side, not to worry about. We can train for that. They've got good product. Now, I also affiliated to the organisation, the affiliate organisation that brings those people to the opportunity. So essentially you could call it like recruitment, but we're nothing about persuasion and we're all about information. We provide the information to people and that's our job. And then their job is to make the decision whether it's for them. If it is for them, then we can bring them to the opportunity through an affiliate link that will sign up, so they're associated to that person, so they get financially rewarded, but also then that person kind of has a stake in the game with this individual they've brought in, because the company will pay productivity bonuses off how successful that person is. So that really then makes the introducer that's really up for it to do everything they can to make sure that person is successful, plugging them into the right information, the right trainings, etc., like that, and the right mentorship. Of course, if they can introduce them to the travel agency side, the product where there's travel being booked, they can also offer the opportunity for that person to be an affiliate, also introducing people to the product, because if they've bought it, they're probably going to be quite confident that someone else has bought it and wants to buy into this very low cost opportunity where they can earn really well. And so that works so much better than any media sort of advertising, etc., because you're being recommended something by someone that's actually doing it. So the big issue with duplication came with this side of the business, where it's just a truth in the industry, really, that probably 1% of the people that join that, you know, this type of affiliate opportunity will be superstars, will have astronomical earning, be very successful. And that's because they will have the right skill set, charisma, and the right system for them, that they have the expertise to operate and probably the finance to back while it's building up. Okay, because as we know, software subscriptions, what we might call tech stack, so different subscriptions to different softwares and things like that, that takes a little bit of investment, and so some people won't have that, and so they'll be slower than the top 1%. It may be that just as well it's experience, mindset, other things, lots of other things. Okay, but I definitely found this, that I didn't have anyone performing at the sort of 1% level I was performing last September, where I was smashing it, absolutely smashing it, for just sharing the information, helping people discover the opportunity, getting their questions answered, getting them to be successful straight out the gate. Now, generally 20% of an organisation will still be really good, and then the other 80%, so within that 1%, by the way, I know you're going, Dan, that's 101%, that 1% falls within the 20% are really good. Okay, the other 80% will just tick along, and it will be a supplementary income for them, but they probably couldn't quit their job. So you want to be in that 20%. So what I found was that potentially people who had that 1% skill set, charisma and finance would be able to duplicate what I was doing. But the rest of the 20%, let's call them the 19%, couldn't. They could get a result, but not the results that I was getting. And that didn't sit right with me, because I want 100% of the people that are putting the effort in to get the result. Because bear in mind, those 80% that don't get the full, you know, a full-time income type result, it's usually due to effort, right? It's not due to anything else, because if you put the effort in, you can develop the skill sets, things like that, to be in that 20%. So I had a really serious think about this, because I thought, I've just had my best month ever, but I can't duplicate it through my organisation. So it may work, but it wasn't duplicatable. What do I do? So I decided in October last year to turn off my system as such. And I'd just turn it on when I needed to, you know, things might look a bit scary. And I went, right, let's turn it on for a day or two and then turn it off. And I say turn it on, turn it off. There's certain activities. Yes, there were subscriptions and things, but I would turn them off, turn them on. And I realised that I have to go back to the drawing board. My system was based off the basics that were working for the 20%, and the 20% were doing it. But how could I make it so that The 20% wouldn't necessarily have a 1% performance rate, you know, the top 1%. But what if we could just shift them up a bit? What if we could make them to, you know, what if we can make these people from doing all right to wealthy? And purely by doing that as well, they're helping more people get independence or additional income. So I turned the system off and I got to work. And what I thought is, how on earth am I going to do this? I said, well, I need to create a manual and I need to work out stage by stage what works and what doesn't work. So that's what I did. I'd do something, get a result myself. Then I would, you know, try and get the team to replicate it, duplicate it. And if they couldn't, scrunch up that ball of paper, throw it away, you know. And I kept doing that for months and months and months. This was in October last year. Now we're in the last day of June. So I think that's right. Yeah, it's the 1st of July tomorrow. And just a couple of days ago, I turned on the new full non-software dependent side of the system because it works. And sure enough, you know, the team is starting to use it, get great results. One of the team members has just gone with it and it's astounding, to be honest with you. And we haven't even turned on the tech side of it yet, necessarily, or the full tech side, because I want people to get comfortable with the process before then we give them the software that's just gonna totally blow their minds and put the numbers through the roof. So I've managed to get this duplication where I said to people, in all honesty, if they're able to duplicate it, they will be introducing someone to the organization every day, and at worst every week. And when you think about that, if you manage to do that, even for most of the year, bring in someone a day, that's 300 people, you know, because if you did it every single day, including Christmas Day, whatever, yeah, that's 365, but let's give you a bit of slack. And even if they're really bad at it, they can still probably bring in 100 people. So even if they brought in one a week and had a couple of weeks off from doing that, they brought in 50 people. That's 50 people bringing in one a week, taking a couple of weeks off. And for those of you that are astute and have just noticed, we've cut back to today. So yes, that's where I cut out yesterday due to lack of storage. I was desperately trying to get away without having to upgrade, because even though there's plenty of money coming in, you should still be careful with it, regardless of how much you earn. But no, Apple's just made some more money off me for cloud storage. Here's where I'll probably get loads of messages about alternative storage options. By all means. Okay, so yeah, this is the principle. Even if you bring in one a week, that's 50 people that are being brought in, whether it's, you know, you're bringing in 50 people directly through you, or your organisation is bringing in one a week. So that's kind of like that's quite a lot of growth. Most companies don't scale at that sort of number, but that's what's possible when you have a sort of direct selling element of the product being person to person, and then a network marketed growth model where you are bringing in people, individuals into an organisation in that way, where there's a very low cost to entry and something which is extremely duplicatable, both on the direct sale, the product sale, and with the network marketing opportunity, with the essentially the recruitment, the sharing the opportunity, the affiliate side. So that's really where we're at now, is we've achieved the first layer of duplication planned, and a totally honest and responsible message here is that not everyone is going to bring in one a day, or you know, a few a week, or even one a week, or even their organisation bring in one a week, because essentially some will, some won't, some do and some don't. Some people have the will and will want to, but not necessarily do. And then some will have the will, they want to do it, and they do it. And that's where they'll get some results. But whether they have the will or don't, or they have to have the will and do, that's not really up to you. So we always say, from the old song, some will, some won't, some do, some don't, so what? You just have to, as a leader, provide that opportunity for them to step up. And some people will also step up at their own pace. So some of you watching, I'm walking pretty slow. I am walking slightly uphill, that's my excuse. But you know, some people will stroll, you know, walk slowly. So this is also an important point, is that try and meet people where they are with things. And if you're going to prioritise, obviously you're going to have to prioritise the people who are running. So you want to run with the runners, walk with the walkers, crawl with the crawlers. And I suggest for those standing still, just smile. Just have them plugged into your organisation, into your community. Keep invites and prompts going out to them. Allow them access to groups. If they decide to turn it on, let them know you're there for them. But don't try to make the 80% that aren't really doing anything, you know, the crawlers or the standstillers, into a walker or a runner before they're ready. And some may never get ready because of, they just let the life, you know, they let life get in the way. The ones that you want to concentrate on is the ones that step up to the business, seize the opportunity despite what life's throwing at them. And yeah, I get it, life can throw a lot at us, and there are seasons in life. You know, we're going into summer now, so this is a beautiful season. We're going to summer where we get to appreciate the growth and the sunshine. We'll move into the season of harvest where we get to reap what we've sown. But for some people, they might be in a winter of their life, and don't let them drag you into winter when you're in summer. You're out of season then. So that's what I would say, is that always have that door open for people, so that when they're ready, you know, they can step up from having the will to actually doing. And then your systems and your support, your environment, your mentorship, if you choose to, or you know, the organisation that you're part of, can step in and really help them succeed all they want to succeed. Now, for those that are running a business, you know, or self-employed, and you're more thinking of it from a staff point of view rather than an independent business owner that's in a team or organisation of yours, then of course the same would apply. You're going to have, you know, staff go through stuff. You're going to have them experience loss, sickness, lack of personal motivation. Maybe there's conflict, either with you or with someone in your organisation. Maybe there's pressures, internal or external, in your business. And all you can do is the best you can do to provide an environment for them to ride out and step up and do everything, obviously, which is required of an employer legally and ethically. But at the end of the day, you know, you've got to also mind your own business. You've got to look out in that way. And if you have people underperforming and you give them the opportunities to perform and the understanding to perform, and they're still doing nothing, unlike people in a freelance network marketing type situation where generally they will take themselves out of the situation, people will quite happily have you paying for them to not perform. And that's where you want to get a really good HR person involved to advise you on performance management. And God, I hate that. That's why essentially, even with my non-profit, we currently do not employ anyone in a conventional sense. Everyone is either an independent partner or a freelance sort of employee. We still have responsibilities there, but and we still have responsibilities to our team member, but we can tackle things a bit more practically. And also it gives people to step up because they're paid on performance, not just showing up physically. Or even, you know, your company policy may be that they're paid whether they show up or not, which is not great, right? So there's lots to sort of think on there, and I definitely recommend reading the E-Myth for that. So I'm about to walk through into the golf course and then get a nice view of the vineyard, but I think I'm going to record a different video for that, because as well I think the mowers are out on the golf course, so that's going to muck up my sound. But I just wanted to sort of close this off by really thinking, ask yourself, whatever type of business you're in, but particularly if you're in a network marketing business, firstly, does it work, what I'm doing and what I'm showing people to do? And then ask the second question, but is it duplicating, or is it only working for me and a very small group of people? If it's not duplicating, have an honest evaluation of the people that you have in your organisation. Are they, you know, are they standing still? Are they crawling? Are they walking? Are they jogging? Are they running? Are they flying? Have an honest evaluation there, and then decide, well, if it's not duplicating, but you've got all crawlers and standing still, then it may not be your system, it may not be what you're teaching, it may not be you, it's just who you've got. And you just need to bring in more people. And hopefully they will inspire the ones that are standing still to start moving forward. But if you have got people who can, you know, you've evaluated clearly can get results, but they're not getting the results you hoped, maybe they're in that 20% that can do, but they're not flying. And you can have an evaluation of, does this person have the potential to be that 1% of the 20% that can really fly? And is it that the system is letting them down? And if it is, then you might need to break your system a little bit and build it back up again. And remember, don't get trapped in comparing to people that are not comparable. So don't, you know, I know that there's people in network marketing organizations that if you bring in 9 people, you get a designer handbag, and that's a fantastic bit of recognition. But is that duplicatable to the average person? I don't think it is, because they're probably in a negative off the commissions coming from those 9 people. But it just shows you that sometimes you don't know the stories behind the glories, and you know, it may be that you're comparing someone who's got amazing charisma, maybe looks a certain way, maybe you know, has a system you don't know about, or has more of the, you know, that 1% of people in their organization that are really the unicorns, the people who are flying. Then don't compare yourself to that. You've got to run your race and evaluate your organization. And if you find you haven't got anyone that is moving forward, you've got to decide, is it because they've got the will but they don't do? So some will, but you know, some won't. And you'll have some that won't, that have signed up to a dream but haven't decided to even turn on their phone or their computer, you know, haven't opened an app or logged onto a website. So you're going to get the won'ts, and then you're going to get the people who do. And if you've got people that do, then it's probably just, like I said, evaluating them, evaluating your system, and going from there. But don't compare yourself to someone who's not at the stage you're at. You know, by all means you can evaluate them, but sometimes what they might say on a stage at a company event is true and might be great for mindset, but there's going to be stuff they won't tell you, because either they don't want you to take their place, you know, they want an edge, so they don't want you to duplicate what they have found duplicates, or maybe it's that they've got just a lot of the 1% and their 20% is performing. Or maybe it's that they've got an investment that they're ploughing in to kind of rig the game in their favour. And none of that is wrong, because it's business, right? It's business. But for you, it gives you a distorted view. And you might wonder, why aren't I bringing, you know, the right people in, or why aren't I bringing people in at all, or why aren't my team, and why isn't it duplicating? And it could just be that you've not got all the information, but more likely it's just you need to do more evaluation and try things, test it, see if it works. So firstly, test it yourself, see if it works. If you get a result, then grab a team member or two, see if they can duplicate it, and be honest with them when you're doing this. Say, look, I had this system that's worked amazing for me, but it's not duplicating as I would hope, and so I want to test some systems so that our people can have the results that I was enjoying, but we're going to have to just try some different things, some tweaks, some changes. Are you on board? Because if this works, both our organisations are going to fly. And so that's what I would say, is find those 1 or 2 people in your organisation that you can do that with, test things, you know, or you can put it out to the whole organisation and see who picks it up. So I call it like putting out a tray of milk and seeing which cat comes. So that's what I would do. And if you find no one comes, or you know, no one, there's people that say they have the will but they don't do the do, then it's down to you to go find some people that will. And that's true for all business, regardless of type. So that would be my last message, is that it starts with you and it ends with you, but you can't do it alone. And just remember that there's only going to be, there's certain metrics that come into place. 80% of people that join your organisation or your business, whatever, may not perform. You know, they may get a what is something, a result for them, even if it's just a personal development, and that's fine. If they're happy with that, that's great. 20% will perform and get a result which is really meaningful, and 1% will be superstars. But remember, that's a lifetime metric. It's not necessarily what you've got today. You could have 100% doing nothing, right? You could be really lucky and have 100% of 1%ers, but it's unlikely, right? So that would be my big message, which is just keep going, understand that there is a ratio to these things, and that you will, before you know it, you're going to start to see results if you break little things and set them back up with the right people. I call it breaking the bone, right? So often when you fracture or break a bone and you reset it, it can sometimes set back stronger.